I am a student studying in a university. I work part-time and somehow manage to make ends meet. I live alone, but my home is close to my family's place. I would not really say that the relationship between me and my family was all that good, but yeah, we were doing fine. The reason I moved out was because I needed some privacy and my family did not take that all too well. We argued for a bit, and then finally, they reluctantly agreed to it. I would be lying if I said I did not miss them, but I do manage to find time to meet them once in a while. I have a younger brother who is still in school. Everybody dotes on him all the time, and honestly, it is really cute to look at them together. My little brother was everyone's favorite child in the family, and hence he would get everyone's undivided attention. Personally, I did not really mind it that much. Ever since I moved out, they began spoiling him and pampering him even more. One day, I went out with my friends to a mall. It was a pretty huge mall. They had decorated it grandly since Christmas was right around the corner. There were so many people and the mall was almost jam-packed. Many people had come with their families and friends. I really wanted to come here, to this beautiful place with my family. But both my mom and dad were busy with work and my little brother was taking care of my grandparents. I made sure to buy a lot of gifts for my family and thought that this would be a really good surprise for them. I made sure to pick the right stuff for each of them, and I knew that this Christmas would be perfect. Since this mall was huge, there were so many stores with a lot of beautiful souvenirs. I had a hard time picking the right gifts for my family, but in the end I was able to get all of them. I also brought a few extra gifts that would be useful for the house. On the way back, there was this one small store. You could not really spot it because this was very small and hard to find in the midst of the huge crowd. I heard a bell ring, and when I followed the sound, I came upon the store. There was a man who wore an oversized robe and wore a gorilla face mask. He was selling lottery tickets. I am not someone who believes in luck and did not think much of this, but since it was Christmas time, I thought, why not? So I went ahead and bought a ticket. I mean, I don't really have anything to lose, and the tickets were really cheap too. I went back home and did not really think about this lottery ticket or even hope to win it. Christmas came in sooner than I expected it to come. I went back to my family after such a long time and with a lot of gifts. Everyone was happy to see me, but something felt off. I gave everyone their gifts, and like I expected, all of them loved it. Things were going good, but for some reason, they felt really distant to me. I used to be kinda close to my family, but today, they seemed more distant than other days. I thought I may be thinking way too much about this, and just let the thought go. I did not want to ruin this day because of my overthinking. Christmas went on smoothly, and so did the New Year. I stayed with my family the entire while and got to spend quality time with them. After all this, I went back to my place. A few days passed. Things were going on as they were. My 21st birthday was getting closer by the date. One day, I received a letter. This was something really surprising to me because not many people use letters in this day and age, and all the people I know never really write letters. I thought this may have been a mistake, and checked the name that the letter was addressed to. It was my name. This was one peculiar thing. I sat down and opened the letter. I could not believe my eyes. I won the lottery. I never would have expected to or even dreamt of winning a lottery. What the hell? I do not even believe in this luck stuff, but I won the damn lottery. I just could not believe what was going on. I pinched myself multiple times just to figure out if this was a dream. It was not a dream. Oh my god. This is probably the first time I have ever won something this big. Then I thought to myself, is it even big in the first place? I mean, I did buy this ticket from a really small shop and who knows, the price could be something really small and cheap. My excitement kinda died down a little. I calmed down and began reading the entire letter. Yet again, I could not believe what I was reading. Turns out I had won $1 million. I rubbed my eyes and checked again. The letter said $1 million freaking dollars. That is a huge sum of money. I am freaking rich now. This day could not get any better. I jumped and ran around the house like a madman. I was so hyper that even the neighbors came in to check if I was okay. I was delighted. The letter said that I would have to go to the lottery shop as soon as I received it, and they would hand me a check of $1 million. I rushed to the mall and went all the way to the lottery shop without shopping or deviating. I showed the man the letter and he congratulated me. He handed me my check and I was so exhilarated. With so much money, I would not need to work at all and I could live a comfortable life for years. I even considered dropping out because I don't really have the need to study to get a job since I am already rich now. I immediately rushed to the bank and checked if the check was valid. It was. I then went to my family and told them that I had great news. Everyone gathered up and I told them everything and even joked about what I had considered regarding my education. They thought I was messing with them at first, but when I showed them the check, all of them jumped in excitement. They shouted, "We are rich!" Everyone was so happy because of me, and it has been quite a long time since I experienced it. They finally averted their gaze from my younger brother and were actually paying attention to me. I felt overwhelmed and excited. My grandpa, however, was not that happy. He looked kinda disappointed. I asked him what had happened, and he just brushed it off, telling me that it was nothing. A few weeks later, my birthday finally came up. My parents wanted to celebrate this year's birthday grandly. Of course, the entire celebration was made possible through the lottery money. We had invited so many guests. All of our distant relatives came too. We decided not to tell anyone about the money I won through the lottery. Everyone was having such a good time. There was something really off with my grandpa. Ever since I won the lottery, he was the only one who was not happy about it. Soon the birthday party came to an end and everyone took their leave. Once everyone had left, my grandpa came up to me and told me that he is very disappointed with me and that I have failed in life. This was a huge shock to me. Why would Grandpa say that? Why was he the only one unhappy with me? It was really frustrating when I heard him say that to me. I got irritated. Once my parents fell asleep, I went to my grandpa and asked him what it was all that about. He told me that I am taking things way too lightly, and now that I got this money, I am turning into someone I am not. I did not understand what he meant by that. He told me that even though I am rich now, dropping out of university is wrong, and that I should not do that. He also told me that I did not earn this money through hard work, and what can be given easily can also be taken easily. This really frustrated me. I yelled at him, telling him that I am an adult now, and I can make any decision I want. He was not right to tell me what to do, and I will live my life the way I want to. This argument of ours went on for quite some time, and it woke everybody in the house. They came in rushing and asked what had happened. I told them everything, and surprisingly, they supported me. My grandpa was pretty mad at me and stopped talking to me. I stopped talking to him too since it was my life, and I get to choose how to live it. The next day, I went back to my apartment. Hey guys, guess what? I no longer live in a rented apartment. I bought it. I feel so proud of myself to be able to buy such an expensive thing. I am living life to the fullest now. I also dropped out of my university. I am traveling around to many different places, and it is quite fun. I even started a small business of my own, and I am pretty sure it will blow up one day. Money can definitely buy happiness. Look at me now. I am the happiest man alive. I bought myself the sports car of my dreams. I have so many friends now, and all of us go out and enjoy every single day. I got a call from my family. They told me that they need to speak to me urgently. I wondered what it could be and immediately went over to their place. My parents wanted to speak to me privately. When all three of us sat down to talk, they told me that they sold the house. This was not something I expected at all. They told me that they had been eyeing a certain mansion and wanted to buy it. They told me that they needed the money that I won from the lottery. The mansion was really beautiful and quite expensive. Even though I was slightly hesitant to spend so much money, I decided to let them buy the mansion. I already have a business, and when that blows up, these $1 million would be nothing. Hey guys, it's been almost a year since I've given any sort of update. I come bearing bad news. The $1 million depleted quicker than I expected it to. I squandered all of it. My business went bankrupt, and I lost a lot of money trying to bring it back up, and all of this was in vain. There were a lot of repairs to be done in my parents' new mansion, and that cost quite a lot too. My friends and I kept going to many exotic places, and I foolishly wasted most of my money. Now that I don't have a lot of money left, they have forgotten about me. I never should have been so overconfident. I slowly started recalling my grandpa's words. Neither of us have tried to reconcile with each other, and it's been more than a year since we've spoken to each other. I have decided to use the rest of my money to join a university and complete my education. Wish me luck. You're the a-hole. Your grandpa would have been heartbroken after the fight you had with him. There was a reason he gave you advice, and you decided to shout back at him. NaH. When people get a lot of money, they tend to think that they are on top of the world. Your reaction was completely normal, and in the end, you did realize what you had done. You're the a-hole. Your grandpa has lived a longer life than you and is wiser. It was stupid of you to ignore what he said and yell back at him. My dad's parents are both self-centered jerks. Their number one priority has always been for people to think they have this perfect family with perfect kids. They didn't care at all about dad's happiness and just wanted him to be the perfect trophy son who they could rub in their friends' faces. They forced him into activities that made him miserable. My dad got a knee injury that still affects him now from a bully on the wrestling team that my grandparents forced him to join. They blamed dad for the bullying and only cared that he wouldn't be able to do sports anymore. Their falling out happened when my dad stood up to them and told them that he was not going to be a doctor or lawyer. They didn't come to his college graduation or wedding. Dad gave them one last chance to change their ways and be in my life, but they refused because I was being raised by my father and would turn out bad like him. My uncle is 9 years younger than dad. He was also a natural academic and athlete, so obviously my grandparents were very different parents to him and were thrilled to be grandparents to my cousin V. Now, my grandparents are always pissed off with V because she isn't a straight-A cheerleader or whatever they want to impress their friends with. V says they still complain because when V was 6, she did ballet and they could impress their friends with her. V was one of the people who cut her hair to show support for cancer patients at her school's cancer awareness rally. Our grandparents literally threw a temper tantrum because V changed her own hair without their input. My grandparents barely even talked to me before, but they've suddenly been super friendly. Only to me, they still ignore my dad and show up to all my events. Whenever they try to make conversation, I just politely say, "That's nice," and that I have to get back home and work on homework. Earlier this week, I had my choir concert where I got 2 solo songs. My grandparents were there, and after the show ended, were loudly saying, "You did so well, honey. That's our grandchild." I tried to again leave by saying I had to go, but they stopped me and said how they just wanted to say they were so heartbroken by V's spiteful rebelling and how they were so proud of me succeeding despite your father. This really set me off, so I loudly told them that they need to stop pretending to be amazing grandparents when they're only interested in me because their golden grandchild stopped being perfect enough for them. The other attendees pretended not to pay attention, but I noticed several whispering. My grandfather just snapped that they were leaving, and my grandmother looked like she was going to cry. Several acquaintances have said, even though the way they did it was unhealthy, my grandparents were ultimately trying to do what they believed would be best for us. And I was out of line to publicly humiliate my elderly grandparents, who even if misguided, were trying to show support and pride in me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They don't care about you. They're just using you. Unless you left some stuff out, you didn't even curse or say anything nasty. Just call them on their behavior. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents needed a taste of what their toxicity has wrought. You've made your grandparents wary of trying to bask in reflected pride. They'll think twice about pulling this stunt again, as they now know there's a real possibility you might go off on them like a Chernobyl reactor core. Not the a-hole. Your grandparents weren't trying to do what's best for you, but what's best for them. Besides, who in their right mind thinks they can come to an estranged family member who they cut off for years and everything will be rainbows and unicorns? When I had my boy 4 years ago, I was taken aback by how many people, usually elderly ladies, just went ahead and touched the kid, sometimes grabbing his little foot, which is the least bad, but then also the hands and worse the face. I do not know any of these women. I mean, it's okay if they look, but I hated it when they touched him. Now, I am not exactly confrontational. What I ended up doing was using an insect net when I went to stores or places I knew this would happen. It helped. I learned a thing or two about speaking out and standing up for myself since then. I now also have a daughter who is almost 2. When she was born, it was mid-pandemic, so the problem wasn't that present. But people seemed to have the need to catch up, so it happened twice last month that other people felt the need to touch her. One guy was in front of me at the checkout of a grocery store. Before he reached her, I pulled the buggy back and told him his behavior lacked respect, and it was not okay to touch children of strangers, even if you don't know someone well. Well, he was angry. His wife shot daggers at me, and 2 youngish guys behind me snickered at me. I didn't care, but was proud. So next up, I'm at another grocery store. My daughter sits in the trolley. Her grandma pushes her. Out of the blue, some lady shows up and grabs my baby's cheek. I call over, telling her to take her hands off my daughter. She too was very pissed, saying she didn't carry the plague. I told her she has obviously missed out 2 years of pandemic and being taught on basic hygiene. My mother-in-law was ashamed and told me to be quiet. I admit my plan is to just touch the next person right in the face to see if they like it. Does this make me the a-hole? Now the a-hole. There is no way you're an a-hole for expecting people to keep their hands to themselves. It's rude to touch other people, even infants. I've gone off on people who touched my kids when they were little, even without a pandemic going around. It's never okay to touch someone else's child without permission. Keep telling people off, but don't touch them yourself in retaliation. Now the a-hole. I don't have any children myself, but most of my friends have, and they all face the same problem. None of them ever liked it when strangers just touched their kids. One of my friends just started touching back. She grabbed the cheek of that elder woman and squeaked, "Ooh, you are so cute, aren't you cute?" Elder woman was outraged, but at least didn't try to touch the baby again. You are the parent, and until your children are old enough to decide for themselves, you make the decision. And it's absolutely okay if you don't want some random stranger touching your children. Just tell them no. Not the a-hole. COVID is still a thing, as is the flu, RSV, and personal effing space. Touching a kid without permission from the parent and the kid is weird to me, and I've even made rules for family about not kissing my new baby on the face until she's 4 or 6 months old, because she's gonna be born as all the above illness are ramping up in the fall and winter, and I'm not risking her health so people can kiss her. Strangers touching is an absolute no-go.